one of the fight which is not really that talked about is Michel Pereira against Michal Oleksiejczuk. I cannot really pronounce his name properly because this is a Polish surname which is pretty hard to pronounce, as we know. But the fight itself will be actually really interesting, and the betting odds are pretty much even. So I'm really surprised that the betting odds are even, and I also want to just give my prediction. I researched a bit about on Michal Oleksiejczuk, and I just wanted to tell you who I think will win this fight and how and why I think that the winner will be the guy who I think will be. Alright, so first of all, let's go ahead and just see the basic stats of them. So this is Michal Oleksiejczuk, and this guy is 29 years old, and one thing that stands out is of course the fact that he has 14 knockout wins. That's pretty good. And he has some losses, 6 losses, 1 by knockout, 4 by submissions. Even that record suggests that he's not really that great of a grappler, and that's true. He's not really a great at grappling or wrestling. He's probably mediocre. But he has a really damn good hand. He's fast with his hands, he has a really good power, and the most important thing, he has a pressure. I have watched a couple of fights of him, and he's always like moving so quickly and always trying to put so much pressure on you. He's not afraid to throw his hands. He's very active when he fights. He likes to close the distance and just let his hands go. This guy does not really kick that much, and he uses his head movement quite often, which can be also a bit dangerous because he might get kicked in the head, especially when you're facing a guy like Michel Pereira. That guy enjoys kicking people, also in the head. So this guy, even though he has unusual style of fighting, he also has to stay quite cautious because Michel Pereira will definitely throw some unorthodox stuff, and it can really damage you. So his last fight actually against Jokwan, I cannot even pronounce this name, but I have watched that fight and he was actually losing this fight. He was fighting against this guy and he almost got knocked out, but after that he actually managed to survive and just throw hands quite quickly. So that was the reason why he won. He landed some really good strikes and he just knocked that guy out. But let's go ahead and see what happened, like who is Michel Pereira at all. Like this guy, if you are a hardcore MMA fan, you definitely know who he is. He has one of the most interesting and exciting fighting style in whole UFC. He's just so interesting to watch. He's just so fun to watch. He just likes to stay active, just throw so many strikes. He likes to jump, do backflips while he fights. Such an interesting guy to watch. I personally am a huge fan of him. I have been watching him for years and I'm really glad to see him fight one more time. Of course, let's go ahead and I want to highlight the fact that even though I like him a lot, there is one thing that I do not like about him, and that's the fact that he has not really entered top 15, even though he's in UFC for 5 years and he has won, let's see how many fights, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fights. He won 7 fights and 6 fights in a row. He won 6 fights in a row and he's still not in the top 15, and I'm like, what the hell? It's like he is always accepting fights against guys who are not really in top 15 and he just wants to have that fun or something. That's fine, but now it's time, 5 years passed and he's 30 years old. If he has some kind of real ambitions, he has to go for top 15 after this fight for sure. So the other thing is that Pereira has been fighting at welterweight in the past and now he's gonna be fighting at middleweight. His last fight against Andre Petrovsky, that was also at middleweight, and he performed even better there. And this guy is huge. Look at him. He's very tall and he's very muscular. He's wide. It's quite unbelievable that he somehow fought at welterweight. But I personally believe that this is the case, that he's gonna be even better at middleweight. You know, like when he was fighting at welterweight, he was good. Like first couple of rounds, he was just so energetic, but then he would slow down, he would get tired, and if his opponent had a good boxing, you know, he could lose third round quite easily, because he just did not really have energy or defense to defend himself from like close boxing. So I personally believe that he's gonna be even better at middleweight, and he's gonna perform even better than he was performing in the past. Alright, so I have some other advantages of Michel Pereira too. One of them being, of course, the fact that he kicks really good, especially compared to Polish guy. That guy does not really kick at all, and he also has a better footwork. He's physically stronger. Like, just compare this picture to this picture. Of course, it's a fighting game, and just because you look a bit soft does not mean that you are gonna be a weaker or worse guy, but it's quite obvious that this guy does not really have as much muscle mass as Michel Pereira, and I personally believe that he's not gonna be stronger than him. The other thing is that Michel Pereira in this fight has a really significant wrestling and grappling advantage. I have never really seen Michel Pereira getting out wrestled that often, unless, I mean, he has to get really tired in order to get out wrestled. Otherwise, it's gonna be really hard for you to wrestle with him, because he's just so strong, he's so athletic. He might, like, if you go for a single leg, he might just backflip. I don't know. He's just so good at that stuff, especially when he's not tired. The other thing is that I have like my notes here. As I have already said, I personally believe that he's gonna be even better at middleweight than he was at welterweight, and it's gonna make him just so much better than he was before. You know, he was already good, but he's gonna be even better. Now, what are the advantages? Like, what are the keys to a victory for Michal? What are those? Well, he has a better boxing. He has a better boxing than Michel Pereira. You know, when you're watching Michel Pereira, he looks so flashy, so good. But the thing is that he does not really have that good of a boxing. He, especially when you try to close the distance and throw hands, he can be quite reckless, and he might get hit quite easily. So his weapon will definitely be his better boxing, and he might also has better cardio. I mean, those are not really, I think those are like only two advantages that he has or might have. But you know, better boxing, it can definitely help you win some fights, especially when you are throwing so much, and he also seems to have a pretty decent power. Yeah, it can be quite problematic. But grappling advantage is very, very obvious. I mean, look at this, 94% takedown defense. That's crazy. Against 48. That's a very significant difference. I personally believe that if Pereira decides to just wrestle, you know, just go for a boring fight, he can just win that fight quite easily. But he won't do that. Okay, now the other thing is that I wanted to just show you here the betting odds. As you can see, Pereira is a slight favorite, and Michal is slight underdog. I was actually quite shocked that the betting odds are so close, but I understand what's the reason for that, because this guy can be very dangerous. You know, he's gonna come really, really fast to you. He's gonna try to just close the distance as fast as he can, and he's just gonna let his hands go. And if Pereira is not gonna be on point and he's not gonna defend himself very well, he might have some problems. But I truly believe that Pereira has just so much more possibilities to win this fight, so many more possibilities to win this fight. He can grapple, he can out wrestle him, he can just stay outside, use his kicks, maybe mess up his legs, and just that's gonna make his boxing worse. You know, he can also try high kicks, because this guy, as I have mentioned, he does not really have that good of a boxing. He's just like coming this way and does this stuff, and you know, he might get kicked in the head. So I personally do believe that Michel Pereira will win this fight, especially considering the fact that he just moved up the weight, and I think that's gonna do him wonders. You know, that's gonna help him to be more energized, that's gonna help him to have more cardio, just be sharper, faster, better, healthier. He will be even more durable. Yep, that's my prediction.